Hello, everybody. It is Thursday in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. My name is Adam Bittner, Assistant Sports Editor for Multimedia at the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, joined for our weekly chat with Jason Maceky, our Post-Gazette sports columnist. We're going to talk about the Steelers' schedule that was released on Wednesday night, the best, the worst, what we're looking forward to, what might be difficult for the Steelers. A lot to digest there, Jason. We're also going to get your thoughts on college football playoff expansion, the Penguins coaching search, and in our third segment on our Pirates YouTube channel, we're going to be talking about Jason's big interview with Bob Nutting following the firing of Derek Shelton. So a lot to get into, Jason. Before we do, I just want to thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. It's Edgar Snyder and Associates. Law firms come and go, but what law firm has been here in Western PA fighting for injury victims for more than 40 years? It's Edgar Snyder and Associates. What firm has a staff of over 130 people who live and work here? It's Edgar Snyder and Associates. Law firms come and go, but Edgar Snyder and Associates is a name you can always trust. So remember, there's never a fee unless they get money for you. If you've been hurt in an accident, call them at 1-800-94-EDGAR or visit edgarsnyder.com. They're available 24/7. Jason, I think the big headline at the top for the Steelers with the schedule release is that they're going to face the New York Jets in week 1. A lot of people are reading the tea leaves there and saying, why would the NFL schedule the Jets and the Steelers to face each other if Aaron Rodgers isn't ultimately going to sign with the Steelers and play against his former team? To that, I'd say, well, you also get to see Justin Fields against his former team either way, and I think that makes it a pretty tantalizing week 1 matchup in that regard.
Yeah, it does. I like it a lot, Adam. I like what the NFL is doing. And then you have the DK Metcalf revenge game the next week at Acrisure Stadium. It's not quite as exciting, but I think the NFL knows what's happening here. I think we all should probably know what's happening here. I know people watching, listening to this, it's not going to come as a surprise. I don't know. I don't know about you, Adam. I've resigned myself to believe that Aaron Rodgers is going to be the Steelers quarterback in 2025. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. It'll be an entertaining thing. I don't see all of this happening. The way the schedule's played out, the way Rodgers has talked about this, I just don't see, oh, wait, this is just kidding. Just kidding. He's going to go somewhere else. Like, no, we're reading the tea leaves. And I think it's a pretty good opener. We'll get into the nuance of the schedule, but I like the idea of getting that out of the way. I've kicked around in my head. I don't know if you have thoughts on this. Like, is that a game Justin Fields should be upset and feel like he has something to prove? I'm not sure. An argument can be made for it. It's also only 1 year, and I don't know if they really did him wrong. They helped get his career on track. So I don't know. There's some intrigue to it for sure.
Well, it's certainly from the comments he's made since the end of the season and since signing with New York, it seems like there was some level of disconnect there where he was frustrated that he was benched at midseason for Russell Wilson and never really got a chance, even amid the struggles late in the season. So I think he probably will want to prove himself, and I certainly don't blame him. We'll see how that plays out. Jason, I think the other thing people are talking a lot about is that this is another somewhat backloaded schedule. You got the Bills, Ravens twice. Who's the other team I had written down here? Oh, you get the Lions
in there. Yep.
So those are 4 of the last 6 games. And people seem a little upset about that, to which I'd say, do you really want to see this team that just was last season getting its teeth kicked in by the Ravens? Do you really want to see them play the Ravens again early? Do you really want to see them play these contenders early, or do you want to see them get a chance to gel? And I think the other big difference, Jason, is that there's no wonky Wednesday game, 3 games in 9 or 10 days, whatever it was. Yeah. They get a little bit more regular rest in these late season games. So I think this stretch overall is an improvement on last year.
I agree. I don't think their stretch last year, though, was it 3-10, 3-11? It's three
something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I disagree with that. Like, whether it's with the Steelers or anybody else, like, I just think it's the NFL being money hungry, and there's not a need to play that much football in that short a period of time. They should be spaced out more. I don't think the Steelers' demise was because of the lack of rest. I think they got exposed for not having a good enough roster. Well, they addressed some things this offseason. Maybe they worked, maybe they didn't. I don't know. I don't look at their schedule, though, Adam, and think that, this is what you should expect. You should expect to play teams. And in case anybody isn't aware, there are a lot of teams better than the Steelers. There's a couple of them in the division. Baltimore is one of them. When do you want them to play the Ravens? I mean, Roger Goodell in the NFL, that's what they're going for. They want late season division matchups to create intrigue. And the NFL is going to do what the NFL wants to do. And so I wasn't surprised by that aspect. Maybe you can look at it and say the Lions game was a little bit late. I don't know. I don't know about you. I was rooting for the Lions on Thanksgiving. I had a hotel booked to go up to Detroit. I was going to bring my wife and kids. I was all excited. I thought the Steelers were earmarked for that. I'm a little surprised they didn't get any like holiday or national exposure. But you know what? I look at the Steelers situation right now, and yeah, they're going to get the national TV games, and they're obviously a draw. But nobody's looking at them like, oh man, this team's really set up for success. This is really their breakthrough year. A lot of people are expecting a lot of stuff out of this team. No, they're expecting 9-8 and 10-7.
Yeah, I just look at the defensive line and Derrick Harmon and the things that they've added, and that gives them a chance to gel a little bit before you face that run-heavy attack with the Ravens.
Yes, absolutely.
Not to say I think they're going to beat the Ravens. I'm just saying I think you have your best chance to do it once you've had a chance to work out the kinks a little bit, and I think it's ultimately a benefit. And if you're not good enough, just like last season, you're not good enough either way. So we'll see how that plays out. Jason, is there anything they can do in the early part of this schedule to engender belief on your part, given the way the last season ended? On paper, you're getting shots at a good Minnesota team, or at least a Minnesota team that won a bunch of games last season. And then teams that are in that, similar, mid-range like the Steelers are, Seattle, Cincinnati, Green Bay early on. If they go 2-2 or 3-1 in that stretch and they win the games they're supposed to win against, the New Englands and the Jetses of the world, are you feeling better about this team, or are you still looking at it like you did the quick start last year and saying you're going to have to prove it against much better teams than this?
Absolutely not, man. I mean, I'm not looking at it in buying stock. I guess I'll answer it that way. I don't know if I would believe in the Steelers until after week 17 next year. Even then, I don't know. Like, I don't know what it would take for me to believe it based on what we saw last year. Certainly wouldn't be after 4 games, man. They could start 4-0 and just come out gangbusters. I wouldn't believe that. They could start 7-1 or 9-1 or something like that. I'd still be waiting for the other shoe to drop based on what we saw late in the season. Maybe that's a wake-up call to all of us, really, and how much things can change in the NFL and how precious this all is, if that's the right word. But no, Adam, I don't know if you feel differently. Like, that would not change my mind at all. I think about the analogy drawn, and we even see it with the Pirates right now. You can't win the division in March, April, or May, but you can lose it. You can't make your season in those months, but you can break it. And the Pirates are well on their way to breaking theirs. Like, that's all the Steelers starting 2-2 would tell me, I guess. Like, 2-2, their season would not be broke. You could just say, okay, let me hear more. If they're 0-4 and we're seeing all of the familiar problems, if their offense is inept, if they don't have wide receiver depth, if their offensive line is more of what it was late in the season than what it was earlier, if Broderick Jones struggles on his move over to the left side, I don't know. Make up the reasons. But, I mean, I think you could look at the Steelers and say, oh, man, they're in some trouble. Or if I just look at the first 4 games and it looks good, I said, okay, I'll just see some more.
Yeah, I think the difference is last season, Jason, they didn't play many teams that I considered their peers on their way to winning those, first 10 games out of 13. I think there's a lot more teams on that list that are their peers. And if you beat them, I at least draw some hope that they would have potential to win a playoff game.
Who are their peers, though, Adam? I was thinking about this because I don't know if we're putting them on the same level. Like, do you consider their peers the Colts or the Ravens?
I would not consider the Ravens. I think the Ravens, the Bills, and the Chiefs are probably the 3 teams in the AFC that are clearly a cut above. And probably like the Lions, the Eagles, and the NFC teams that are, clearly better than them. But then I look at Seattle, Green Bay, some of those teams that they will face in the early, weeks and months, and say, those are teams that I'm not going to say they should beat, but they should be able to compete with. And if you can beat them, especially if the goal is to see them win a playoff game this year, Jason, that would engender belief on that regard. I haven't seen enough from the offseason to believe that they are going to step into that other group of true Super Bowl contenders.
Yeah.
But if the goal is a playoff win, I think they can persuade me early.
All right. I can, but we saw that. We saw that fish before, to quote the great Mike Lang. I don't know how I could believe it. I mean, I guess what we're saying, maybe it's just semantics. Like, you can believe it's possible. I couldn't be convinced that it's going to happen based on how things went, especially not with the 41-year-old quarterback. I mean, what if things go well with Aaron Rodgers after 10 weeks? He looks really good. And then he's still old. Something might happen. I mean, you don't want that to happen. I don't know if I could look at 4 weeks and just say it's going to happen. Maybe you're saying that it's possible. It opens up that world, and that's completely fine and fair.
Well, and I think especially after the George Pickens trade, some people, we talked about this a little bit last week. Are they serious about this season or not? I think if you win some of those early games, you have at least a belief that they're not tanking and that this is going to be interesting down to the end. Jason, one thing Art Rooney said during the schedule reveal is that they plan to leave late in the week for Ireland. I believe they said they're going to leave sometime Thursday before the Sunday game. They did that when they went to London. What was that, 2012, something like that? And Cam Hayward has famously called that a big mistake and said that they were exhausted for that game in London. So those quotes have been standing out to people. What do you think about their process going into this big international game against the Vikings?
I don't like it. I don't understand it. Adam, isn't the whole reason they're going over there to like pay homage to the Rooney family's attachment, heritage in Ireland, all this stuff? Like, I expected the Steelers to go over there at the very beginning of the week and be out in the community or entrenching themselves or, make this a big event. And you know what? As they should. There's nothing wrong with that at all. So I am very surprised. And I realize the bye week is not their doing. Although I was under the impression that if you did this, you could manipulate your bye. Like, you don't have to take the bye week that early. But it sounds like from what Art II said that they're not real thrilled about that. But yeah, Adam, I didn't understand that at all. I still don't understand it. I remember the Vikings game. Obviously, I was not working for the paper at the time, but just following what was going on with the team. Why would you not want to give every advantage there? Why would you not want to get accustomed to that? I mean, shoot, I'm going over there. I think I'm leaving Monday. And I'm worried about my readiness for the game, although I think I'll be all right. I just can't. That's really surprising to me that they're not going to get in until Friday and then turn around and play a game on Sunday. Cam's concerns are valid.
Well, and especially because, I mean, there's no real need to rush home, right? Like, you'll get plenty of time at home for the following week. If they're playing the following week, maybe I could understand a little bit better of trying to keep your sequence as close to normal as possible, but you're not going to have a game for 2 weeks. So Couldn't you be able to figure out the jet lag on the other side?
Yeah, I mean, you absolutely could. And I would imagine, I'm maybe speaking a little bit out of turn here, but let's say the Steelers wanted to play and they were going to play that following week. I mean, I feel like that following week, the Monday game would make a lot of sense. You can kind of work with that team, which I don't understand why there's not more give and take. But again, you get back Monday. You play Sunday, you get back Monday, you have a little bit of an adjusted week. Maybe it's playing on a short week. I understand. I mean, it's not ideal. It's not ideal by any stretch, but you want to preserve your bye for later in the season. That's what I would want to do. And I would just, I look at it on the front end of things. Like, I guess maybe they're looking at it like they can get a lot of their prep done in Pittsburgh and then fly over to Ireland. And that's basically their downtime. It's going to be spent recovering anyway. It's going to be recovering and acclimating. But you have the longest tenured, most respected voice in that locker room basically saying, this didn't go right last time. It wasn't good. And now they're repeating the process. They're just opening themselves up to criticism. I hope it doesn't play a factor. I mean, it's one game. It's not an entire road trip, but I don't like it. I wish they would have gone over there earlier. Maybe that's selfish because it would lead to more stories for me. I don't know, but I'm just a little surprised.
Chances to play hurling after practice or something as well. I know they did that when they went over there. Just a little bit of a cultural exchange type of thing. Jason, any other thoughts on the schedule itself before I get your thoughts on rookie minicamp?
A little surprised on the Thanksgiving Day thing. I thought I said that before. I thought they would be earmarked for that. I looked at it and I still see 10-7, 9-8, Adam. I mean, we can go through the nuance, and I'm not going to say, I'll save everybody my overall just complaining about the hubbub made with the schedule in May, and so much stuff can happen. It's not my favorite topic, but that's all right. There was definitely going to be a schedule, and now there definitely is one.
I understand why we care, Jason, because that's how we plan our lives, once we finally get the schedule released.
I was going to plan my life around the Steelers I knew they were playing, dude.
Right, but now I have the facts in front of me, and I can plan, what am I going to take off? Am I going to take off at all? Anything like that. So we have those facts in front of us. But for the fans, sometimes, especially because we know the opponents ahead of time. If you didn't know the opponents ahead of time, I think it would be, probably worthy of some level of hubbub. But when you already know what teams you're going to play and where, and it's just a matter of the times and dates, I've never understood that myself. Or like at the draft where they did a big to-do about this is the day we're going to tell you when that was crazy. Jason, rookie minicamp was this past week. We're at the football and shorts stage of the schedule where everyone looks great. Will Howard looks great. Kaleb Johnson looks great. Derrick Harmon looks great. What's real and what do you think we're getting, a little bit ahead of ourselves on?
Well, I'm going to say this about their draft, and this is not football and shorts stuff. I really like the types of players they got. And I say that vague for a reason. I like Derrick Harmon's body build. I like his personality. The same thing with Kaleb Johnson. I like, the chances that those guys and Jack Sawyer, that they're giving themselves for success. I think they're good kids with, in this for the right reasons, all that, physically sturdy, whatever, like as much as you can ascertain during this part of the year. I think those guys check those boxes. And I like the chances of them finding success for those reasons. I don't know. I'm with you. I've gone down the road of like, oh, this guy looks really good in rookie minicamp. Oh, look, he's going to have a great year. It's the same strand of logic that takes you down to spring training and you see a guy with 2 hits in a Grapefruit League game and you think he's going to have a great season. Next thing you know, he turns into, I don't know, Henry Davis or something like that. We need to temper expectations, but I do like I mean, Derrick Harmon's huge, dude. Like, he's not going to be able to not take up space and throw people around. Like, he's suddenly not going to just forget that stuff. So I'm excited about that.
Yeah, I think for me, the Will Howard stuff is that hype train is way out of control already.
Oh,
not to say that I don't think he can have a decent NFL career or that he doesn't have potential to be a starter someday. Sure, the potential's there, but there are a lot of people convinced, like franchise quarterback, Big Ben Part 2. And if you say anything otherwise, they're in the comments saying that like you have a bias against Ohio State. It's already up to a 10, and it's a 6th round pick. Like, am I crazy here, Jason?
No. You are perfectly logical. Hey, I'm not saying he's going to stink. He might be good. I'm just saying
exactly. Yeah, I agree.
Should go down the road of him being like a guaranteed, rostered quarterback. Plenty of guys in the 6th round that you don't know as much about their college career. They don't pan out. And I can't look at the entire NFL draft ecosystem and say, you know what? You're wrong. You're wrong. I saw Will Howard at rookie minicamp for 2 days in a non-competitive environment. You all are wrong. This kid's good. Like, I want to see more. That's it. If he's the backup quarterback this year, a 3rd-string quarterback, if he's on the roster, that's a win for the Steelers. But I'm not going any further than that.
Jason, we're going to get into the Penguins coaching search and some college football topics on the other side. Before we do, we want to thank another couple of sponsors. We'll start with UFC Gym. If you're looking for a way to challenge your body and sharpen your mind, step into something more than just a workout. And welcome to the new Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu Academy at UFC Gym. Here, it's not just about training. It's about living the values of honor, discipline, and respect. Whether you're a total beginner or leveling up your skills, you'll be guided through a structured program led by a 3rd-degree black belt that builds confidence, strength, flexibility, and real technique. Head down to UFC Gym at the Waterfront or Market Square to learn about their exclusive 3-month introductory package today. We also want to send along a message from our friends in Bradenton, Florida.
Embrace the laid-back charm of island life while sinking your toes in the sand and discovering real, authentic Florida in the Bradenton area. Unspoiled beauty and pristine beaches, a vibrant waterfront downtown energized by local arts and culture, fresh Floridian cuisine with a flourish of rich history, and friendly locals ready to welcome you to this preserved paradise on Florida's Gulf Coast. Plan your visit today at BradentonGulfIslands.com.
We are back on our weekly chat with Jason Maceky. Jason, the Penguins coaching search remains ongoing. Mitch Love was a name that came up this week, connected to the team. Do you have any thoughts on him and how this process has been unfolding for the past week?
This is honestly, or I should say it this way, Adam, he is my leader in the clubhouse at this point in terms of guys that I would want to take that job. I like David Carl a lot from the University of Denver. He's going to be off the list. I think we talked about that last week. Rick Tockett's another guy. I wouldn't say Tocchet would be my number one. I don't think he's the right fit. He's going to be going to the Flyers. We saw that coming, I think. And a subtle storyline here is the Metropolitan Division suddenly gotten a lot more difficult, a lot more intriguing. Mike Sullivan in New York, Rick Tocchet in Philadelphia. Those matchups are going to be a lot of fun. But I still look at the Penguins and believe that they need somebody like Mitch Love. And why I say that right now is the assistant with the Washington Capitals. Sorry for people who already know this. But what the Capitals have done should be a comp for the Penguins, how they've been able to build and retain around Alex Ovechkin. It's a combination of quick, smart moves. I wrote this column late in the season, quick, smart moves, guys coming up from the American Hockey League. And the Penguins have the ingredients to make that happen. They need to pivot a little bit this offseason, and I don't think they're going to step on the gas as much. But the Capitals also aren't, they weren't targeting the immediacy either. This was a little bit more of a slow build that kind of sparked because of the moves that they made, and some of them really worked out. They were really intelligent. But anyway, the person to put that all together, I like Mitch Love a lot. He's not your traditional coaching candidate. You've probably seen pictures of him around. He looks like Aaron Rodgers with a mustache in kind of a weird way. He's a former NHL goon, like he's almost the Jay Caulfield equivalent. But he's been really a big part of what the Capitals have done, and I would like his brain on that. He spent some time in the American Hockey League, has the ideal background that Kyle Dubas would want. Anyway, they're going to interview a lot of guys, but I like Mitch Love.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that plays out in the week ahead. Maybe we'll have a coach to talk about by this time next week. Jason,
probably not. I'm just saying it's going to take a while. Dubas already warned us.
Okay, well, fair enough. Jason, we had a story from Stephen Thompson about the ACC resisting the Big Ten and the SEC's plan for playoff expansion that gives those two leagues more auto bids than the ACC, the Big 12, and then obviously everyone beyond that. Curious what your thoughts are on the ACC's opposition there. On one hand, auto bids removes the Alabama SMU controversy and the room for the committee to go a different direction, and you guarantee that you get at least two ACC teams in, which, based on how the season unfolds, sometimes you might not be able to guarantee two ACC teams get in under the current format. But on the other hand, it gives more power to the Big Ten and the SEC when they certainly don't need it. How do you view this possible expansion to 14 and 16 teams and having automatic bids rather than having the committee as involved as it's been since the inception of this system about a decade ago?
I've got a couple different thoughts on this, Adam. And one of them is I try to remember that when they went to 12 teams and they expanded, I don't think anybody thought that this was going to be perfect right away. So I'm trying to extend a little bit of grace there, and it's not perfect, and they need to do some nips and tucks. That's one thought. My other thought is that we're overthinking all of this. Automatic bids, this, that, and the other. Whatever happened, think about what we're trying to do here. We're trying to get the best college football teams in some sort of playoff system. All we're worried about is seeding, buys, maybe that's it. You're trying to capture the best 16 teams. That's the number that I like the best. So I'm just going to work off of that. But what is wrong with if you win your conference, you get a bye, and then you have the top overall seed, and then you can juxtapose or create your seeding path with those teams. So if you're the number one overall seed, you're going to get the friendliest draw. Okay, good. That's probably going to be a Big Ten team or an SEC team, and you're going to get the most favorable draw. The last team there, you're going to get the least favorable draw. And if you want to screw around with a little bit, maybe in the bottom 4 spots or the bottom 2, you want to have a play-in game, something like that. I don't know. I just worry that we're getting a little bit too complicated with this manipulation. I don't understand what the ACC is doing, and sort of not agreeing to this or disliking it, but I guess I just link it back to the initial point that you knew there was some imperfection, and maybe there's another idea here that I'm not seeing. Feel free to weigh in if you like it. I am all for a much simpler formula than the stuff being discussed right now.
I think my big problem is that, and I'm definitely in a minority on this, but I don't like the devaluing of the conference championships, which this format would do. There's also talk of just seeding the field, based on how they're ranked. And so you avoid a situation where Oregon ends up with Ohio State in their first playoff game last year. And that was an obvious disadvantage to them. But taking away the higher seed from a Boise State or an Arizona State, well, those were some of the best seasons in those schools' history, especially like Arizona State. They, under a format where you just seed at 1 to 16, I think they would have been the 11th team last year, so they wouldn't have even gotten a home game for winning the Big 12. I don't like a format that devalues the conference championship game because, and this has been a philosophical thing since they instituted the college football playoff, is they've made it all about the playoff or the national championship, and that being the only thing that matters. And that's the only thing that ESPN wants to talk about. The part of the charm of college football to me is that there are these conference championships that did mean something, even if you don't have a chance to win a national championship.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. I don't know how you can serve all of the, check all of those boxes, right? Like, how do you make the conference championships important? How do you not orient things toward a national championship when you're literally creating a tournament that funnels into that? You can't prioritize everything, in my opinion, although you bring up a really good point with the conference championship games in Arizona State. I agree with you. And I would probably use that, my top 4 model, base that on conference champions. And so, Arizona State, you have the best season in program history. You have an 11 ranking. You win, you're going to jump yourself up to that. But we're also kind of, I guess, getting into what they're doing now. I'm not sure. But, I mean, I'm okay prioritizing the tournament. Prioritizing the conference champion, I should say it that way, as like the top 4 in the tournament. I'd like to go to 16, and I'd like to hear less complaining about the at-large bid and this team got in, this team got it. No, your top 16 in the country with your conference champions as 1 through 4. I'm done. I'm good there.
Yeah, and I think the simple fix I would have made, Jason, was to avoid the Oregon-Ohio State situation this year. Just let Oregon pick the winner of, the first round game that they want to face. So if they want to play the winner of Penn State-SMU because you just beat Penn State and you think you can beat SMU, then they get to make that choice. Then the 2 seed gets the next choice.
What's the big deal? What's the big deal if those two play each other? People act like that's a problem. Like, that doesn't happen. I mean, that happens all the time in Major League Baseball. Just play the team. It's 15 times. You can play them again. That's all right.
It's the old college football team where the games, for some people, still are won, with who you got on the roster. And then Ohio State ended up proving the case, which I think was we shouldn't be trying to blow it up after 1 year. I don't think. I think you need a little bit more data, but it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. Jason, we're going to get into some baseball on the other side of this break. If you're on audio, stay right here. We'll just be doing a quick segment break. If you're on video, head over to our Pirates YouTube channel. We're going to be getting into Jason's big interview with Bob Nutting following the Derek Shelton firing last week. We'll see you on the other side.
Thank you for checking out this content from Post-Gazette Sports. If you watch this video on YouTube, please like the video and subscribe to our channel. For all of the sports coverage the Post-Gazette has to offer, visit post-gazette.com.